My mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Watchmen, tell us of the night. The morning comes and also the night. If you would inquire, inquire. Would you inquire? The watchman in the Word, of course, represents those things that come up within us to tell us something important. And they're planted in us by the Lord if they're going to be of any use. If we're just looking out for ourselves, from ourselves, oh well, we will be in the state of that Babylon, which was the enemy that has fallen. But if we would inquire of the Lord and inquire of the watchman set upon the hills and upon the walls and in the high places to see, we would inquire of the Lord from the Lord, that the Lord may give us something to help us preserve from himself what is within ourselves. Now that's not way too complicated, is it? Perhaps it's more or less complicated than the lesson this morning from chapter 18 of Genesis and the Arcana. Because we know God is one, and God is to be within us and us within God. So why does God show up as these three men coming to Abraham? We know in the teaching of the new church, God is one. In the Lord God Jesus Christ dwells the fullness of the Godhead bodily. And we don't look outside of Jesus Christ for some other God, or a Father that's separate from the Son, or a Holy Spirit that is separate from all of them. So we may be challenged, looking at the literal sense of Genesis 19, to think, why did the Lord use such an appearance of himself in the literal sense? Will that not confuse us? If we look from ourselves to ourselves, if we look from the appearances of our natural bodies and minds, and we try to look to the Lord that way, we might become confused. That's why the Lord's given us his Word, that we may look from what appears in his Word to that which appears in our mind, and ask the Lord, inquire of the Lord, what does this mean? It seems that there's some light, but there's also some confusion or darkness. The morning comes, but also the night. Inquire, if you would inquire deeply. One time angels were speaking with Swedenborg, a man in the other world, about the Trinity. And they said, we think you have some idea of there being three people. And what was Swedenborg's response to them? Look more deeply. He said, enter more deeply into my thoughts, and you shall see. Our role as people of the church, enter more deeply into the Lord's thoughts, that we may think as one with him. This chapter 18 is telling us about the beginning of a kind of perception Jesus Christ had on earth that really wasn't known by the angels until the second coming, when this book was published and written and presented to the ideas of the minds of angels. That appears in 2249 in this chapter. How these ideas that are given much later than Jesus' birth and life on earth, these ideas, these things of the divine human, descended into heaven, made a difference there, and were able, by the Lord inquiring of himself back, I don't want to get confusing, were made evident that this is the divine human within the heavens, which is the second coming. The presence of the Lord, the presence of the Lord within his own. That's the second coming. And it's given to us in these teachings. It's explained to us. Keep inquiring. Because there will be light. So here's Abraham. Let's go back to the literal sense. Here's Abraham sitting under the oak tree of Mamre at the heat of the day. And the angels come to him, 3 men. And all this is set up so that when Jesus was reading this, he would understand what it is that he would be experiencing. But he had a sense that unless I unify the divine ends, the divine human and the divine proceeding, unless they're unified in me, I cannot save mankind. Is that too hard a doctrinal concept to preach in the morning, on Sunday morning? If it is, good. If it's not, good. Because what the Lord is doing here is reaching with his mind the meaning of his life on earth. We're actually told a little bit later on, again in that number 2249, that people can read this and think this has nothing to do with me. More doctrinal, more material, it's not about me. What on earth does Jesus Christ, seeing in his interior perception the meaning of this passage from thousands of years before his life, what's that got to do with me? Let's go to 2249. In this chapter, the internal sense treats of the state of the Lord's thought and perception. And it's fully described. You didn't know that. Fully described. Inquire. Inquire some more. Fully described at the beginning what this conjunction of the divine human with his divine. Well, what does that mean? You know, the Lord, when he was on earth, he was born just like you and me. We're celebrating his birth on earth. We're celebrating that he came into a human body. And when that little baby took its first breath and cried and began to move around and to eat and to sleep and to do all the things that babies do when they're an hour old, or a day, or a week, or a month, or a year, 10 years, everything baby Jesus went through as a child, all these steps, he began in darkness. Watchmen, tell us of the night. The morning comes. The morning comes. Jesus will be born, and also the night. The Lord will be born. He will be born in you. He will be born on earth. He will be born in the church, and also the night. The night comes. When the Lord was born on earth, it was dark. It was the darkest time on earth. And the Lord's mind, as he was taking that first breath, was dark. The Lord didn't come knowing everything because he had the divine soul. He went through every state a normal baby goes through. Not knowing how to make sense of the things in front of him. Just like you. Back when you were a baby, maybe right now. Not knowing what those sounds were that he heard of his mother cooing or his father laughing. He didn't know any of that. It was dark. The morning had come, he was born, the day spring from on high had come, and it was dark. And he had to go through every stage we go through to come into the light. And here in this chapter, we don't know how old he was physically when he had this perception. He had this perception that within myself must be unified everything of the divine essence that I have as my soul. Everything of my human, my presence here on earth, being a man on earth, not just a male man, but a person on earth. And then uniting that with everything that comes from him. It doesn't seem possible in one lifetime to do that. Are we not all ourselves looking and thinking, oh, Lord, I'm still working the same thing I was working on 40 years ago. I know how old you are. But the Lord had a perception that unless He does that, humanity will fail. And that's why this chapter comes at a wonderful time. Sarah laughs. The Lord says, you laugh. I didn't laugh. You laugh. Is anything too wonderful for the Lord? In the literal sense, she's laughing because she's 90 years old. You going to have a baby at 90? Ha! Oh, right. And we're told her laughter represents something of the contemptuous mind that thinks the Lord can't regenerate me or you. The Lord making you go to heaven? The Lord bringing you into your heavenly kingdom? Are you one with Him? Are you just laughing going, well, maybe some other people sitting beside me, but not me. The Lord, no. Well, please, laugh with Sarah and know that within that laugh there's something of contempt. That the Lord can't do it to you, regenerate you, rebirth you, because you're so old, crusty, so set in your ways. Ha ha ha. The Lord can do it. There's nothing too wonderful for the Lord. The Lord had that perception that He could actually change and save humanity just being a man on earth. Just a man. And you'll notice later on in this chapter, if you inquire or read, that the statement about the three men changes into Jehovah, just simply Jehovah talking. The idea, that perception of, I can't do this as three, I can't unite all three, it just becomes the Lord talking to Abraham. As he approaches one of the most grievous temptations and states of his life, which was to look forth and see Sodom and Gomorrah and know that that all was within his human inherited. That all was within him. And it also represented the state of all of us. We are all born into Sodom and Gomorrah. And unless the Lord comes to us to help us sort out and pull out that which is going to survive, we're damned. The morning comes, but there's night also. We rejoice in the morning. And we remember that the morning is brilliant and wonderful because it comes after darkness. And it precedes another state of darkness. The Lord was seeing in this perception of three men that unless these three elements of His life are brought together into one, He cannot save humanity. And that coming together of those perceptions is Sarah being told, you're going to have a baby. Ha ha! Right. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? The Lord shows up in many different guises, many different ways. When the Lord shows up in your life and says, I'm going to regenerate you, I'm going to save you, I'm going to bring you into heaven, you might not believe it comes as Latin translated into English and you hear it on the pulpit. It might be in another experience you had this morning, later on today, this week. We have that sense of hope. And oftentimes this time of year can stimulate that sense of hope. Perhaps you have an elf on your shelf. Perhaps you can honk it in your house. Perhaps you celebrate and Santa Claus appears, or maybe you don't. The Lord showed up in so many different ways, and shows up in so many different ways in the stories of the Word. He will show up in things that have to do with the Word, and He will unify us in things that have to do with the hope of His coming to us. Don't give up hope. And also, don't believe in three people of the divine. The idea the Lord wants us to bring together those things which we love, which we feel. In the heat of the day, the Lord appeared to Abraham. those things that we understand or hear. The Lord spoke to him, and he spoke back. The things that we hear, and feel, and see. And the Lord's going to change each one of those perceptions of feeling, hearing, and seeing. Perceptions that arrive into our minds from all of our senses. We'll change that so that we can actually allow him to come in. Okay, what does that all mean? To eternity, folks, we will be being reformed in our thinking. Follow along with this passage. Again, it's 22:49 in the Arcana. About the ideas changing. Do you think all of this, all the things that have been preached, all the things from the Word, do they really apply to me? The internal sense is being treated of, and people might say to themselves, it appears as if nothing in here has anything to do with me. What do the angels see? These things are of greatest moment, it says, for before or in front of the angels, to whom the internal sense is the Word, they see the Word as the internal sense of these teachings. These are presented to their life together with all the representatives, 3 men, cakes, oxen, etc., in a most beautiful form, besides numerous other things. And they, by receiving this, then have the reception of the Lord's divine kingdom. Because people cannot gather any ideas of the Lord's divine kingdom unless they are from ideas formed in the natural world. And nothing can possibly be retained, nothing of thought, except by means of some idea formed in the natural world, here or there. The things that come from the world. So in order that the angels may have conjunction with the Lord, their ideas and their perceptions are what they bring into the other world. So everything you're thinking now, or not thinking, everything that is present in your mind right now, you're going to take it to the other world. All the good thoughts, all the bad thoughts, all the great presentations, all the things you've heard, felt, and seen. Because it says the angels have their former ideas with them, formed from all the sources, and all their scruples. The things that are easily leading them astray, these are gradually dissipated, and then new ideas are insinuated into that bring light and truth. This takes place more with the spiritual angels than with the celestial. It is known that in the heavens no one is pure before the Lord, and that all the angels are being continually perfected. When we're preparing for the Christmas celebration and we're reading stories from the Word and we're trying to make sense of it, some of it comes more easily, and some of it we might walk out of here and say, I have no idea what that sermon was about. Know that the Lord is planting within us, by means of the teachings of His Word, even if we don't understand everything. If we've tried diligently to listen, to see, and to feel. Especially we can feel in this chapter, I believe, in the teaching of the Word, how much the Lord longs to save us and is willing to enter into our solid Lord. He's willing to walk into that which we hold dearest and sturdiest, that we hold most precious, that is perverted. The idea of what was taking place in Sodom and Gomorrah. On a representative literal sense, but more importantly, on a spiritual sense. It has to do with the desire to keep control of our own lives. I'm not giving anything to the Lord. Well, I'll give certain things, but not everything. No, I'm going to control. I'm going to take care of my own stuff. I couldn't possibly give all of this to the Lord. If I gave my whole life to the Lord, I'd be nothing. The Lord saw by unifying all that was in His life, He could save humanity. And with that perception, He went into everything of our lives. Things we can't even see about the evil nature that we've inherited and the evils that we've done. We can't even see that, but thank God the Lord can. And He's willing to go right into that place to save us. That's how much He loves us. Watch and tell us of the night, the morning is coming, the Lord is coming. He'll come to everything that is totally dark within us. We do our work, the Lord has already done His work. And we receive the benefit, and we must receive the humility. That lets us know that He will come to us and save us, and not we ourselves. Amen. Please rise.